Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everybody. You've been listening all morning about how music impacts on individual lives. My topic today is autism and music. Autism is a field that I'm really passionate about, and so when Dr. Indra asked me to speak, I said, yeah, why not? You know, because if there's any platform that I could enthuse people, raise awareness about autism, I'll be there. Shakespeare is quoted saying, "If music be the food for love, play on." If music be the food for autism, play on. That's what I say. So over the next, 25, 30 minutes, I hope to cover the following. What is autism, ASD? We'll look at some strengths and difficulties of those with ASD. Autism and music research. We'll also talk about the dance between autism and music. And then finally, looking at ways forward. I'm just looking at you guys, and you've been sat and, all day. Would you like to stand up and stretch for a little bit? Yeah? Come on, everybody. I'm just going to ask you to do something with me. I'm not a singer like Prof. May or anyone like that. Just want you to sing with me. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands, okay? If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, then you really ought to show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, stamp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, stamp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, then you really ought to show it. If you're happy and you know it, stamp your feet. All right, everyone, sit down. It's so important to let the blood circulate, especially during lunch hour. Right, looking at the definition, what is autism? The DSM-5 describes it this way. It is autism spectrum disorders are neurological disorders featuring delay or abnormal development in social communication and interaction, and restricted repetitive patterns of behavior, interests, or activities. Big mouthful there. So you hear this word autism being used. You hear ASD, autism spectrum disorders. It is used interchangeably. In the UK, they call it ASC, autism spectrum condition. All right? Since the publication of the Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, these disorders of the brain fall under one category, or one diagnosis is given, and it's called autism spectrum disorders. That includes the classic autism, Cannon's autism, that's the autistic disorder, Asperger's, the high functioning, childhood disintegrative disorder, Rett's disorder, pervasive developmental disorder not otherwise specified. A lot of brain disorders, and it all comes under this whole category of, sorry, have I lost something? Can I just put it a bit further here? I need to get you used to everything here. So when you hear this term being rolled out, autism spectrum disorder, ASC, and people use, acronyms, and it means that individuals here have issues with communication, they have deficits, or they have problems processing language. According to the Center of Disease Control in the USA, they state that the incidence of autism is 1 in 68 children. And the ratio of prevalence is 1 to 4. So in autism, there are more boys, 4 times more boys than girls who are diagnosed with autism. So to give you an understanding of the difficulties, I told you we're going to talk about strengths and difficulties of those with autism. Some of the difficulties that they go through come under this triad of impairment. This is something Lorna Wing introduced, and she said those with autism have 3 areas of difficulty. One of it is social communication difficulties, and by this I mean they have issues with verbal and non-verbal communication. You will have those with autism sometimes having no speech whatsoever, and they have to use picture communication exchange systems like PACS to communicate, or some of them may have speech, but they will be speaking at a very rapid rate, and they can be very pedantic. They can have, speak in a monotone. If they say, I'm happy, I'm happy. There is no expression. They can be speaking that way, so they don't communicate. A lot of what we communicate in language is non-verbal, right? So those with autism sometimes miss those cues. And also, you will find that they mimic a lot. They can take on accents. I was in the UK and I was diagnosing a child, and he was speaking, a British child, was speaking with an American accent. And even his parents, wonder, why is he speaking very peculiarly, So they may mimic, memorize chunks of information as well. And they can rattle off with no problem whatsoever. Another area or aspect that they have difficulty with is social interaction. So we know when 2 people come together, when you want to interact, you must give appropriate eye contact. Those with autism sometimes don't give that eye contact. Sometimes they have issues with sharing, with turn-taking. They have problems trying to keep up with conversations. They don't understand when what they're speaking about is not interesting to the other person. They would just go on speaking on a particular area of interest. If they're interested in dinosaurs, they keep talking about dinosaurs. And then every time you try to switch the conversation, they revert back to talking about dinosaurs. You see, children, normal developing children, atypical children, by the age of 4, they realize that other people have different viewpoints, other people have different feelings, other people, want different things. But those with autism, majority of them, they tend to be, or come across as egocentric. They want things their way. The third aspect of this triad of impairment is social imagination. Those with autism have difficulty with, hypothetical thinking. They are concrete thinkers, they're visual learners, and they also, they can't understand figurative language. So for example, if I said, oh, it's raining cats and dogs, they will find that very strange. Or if I ask them, you've got to keep your eyes peeled, they will look horrified. What do you mean, keep my eyes peeled? You want them to pay attention, but they get shocked about that. They also do things in a particular order. They like arranging toys in a straight line. Yeah, they don't like change. They like things to be routine. They like patterns. So those with autism have 3 main areas of difficulty: social communication, social interaction, and social imagination. They have difficulty jumping from one aspect to the next. And they can be very, very fixed. They can have black and white thinking. Yeah? They understand things on the surface level. So no talking about jokes or metaphors with them. It'll confuse them. What I'd like you to remember is autism is a continuum. Yeah? What we must bear in mind is no two people with autism are alike. This means that some children will have slight difficulties in all the three aspects of the triad, and others will have significant difficulties in all the aspects. So no 1-2 person is the same. Some may be better with language, but other areas will be areas of their difficulty. So some behaviors, due to their triad of impairment, due to these areas of difficulties, you will notice certain behaviors. You will notice that those with autism may come across to you as slightly odd, peculiar. So what are some of the behaviors that you might notice? I don't know if you're at the back, if you can see it, but you might find somebody with autism just laughing out loud, giggling, for no apparent reason, and you've not even cracked a joke. You might have some of them being insensitive to pain. They might have a high threshold to pain. Those with autism have sensory sensitivities to touch. They may not like you touching them. They may have issues with clothing. They wouldn't like labels at the back of their, t-shirts. That will be irritating them. They could be hypersensitive or hyposensitive. They could have issues with light. So that would result in issues with sleeping because they want a total blackout. I'm having these lights staring at me, but with those with autism, they can't sleep because they need it totally black out, right? They also could have problems using the toilet. With smells, they've got sensory sensitivity or they're afraid, so toileting could be an issue. So apart from sleep, food could be issues. They don't like a certain taste. They like a particular type of cornflakes, and if you change the brand, it becomes a big hoo-ha with them. They will insist on routines. Those with autism like sameness. They like routines, they like structure. They can become very difficult if change is sprung on them. Okay? They don't like changes. So when you go into schools, if a new teacher comes in or the teacher who is normally teaching is absent for some reason or other, the child with autism will get very distraught. And then you will have the meltdown, the negative behavior. And some of them can come across very, very rude to you. They don't mean to be rude, but because they have issues, communication deficits, they can come across as rude. So despite all these challenging behaviors, despite all these oddities that they may present to us, children and young people with autism have many, many strengths. I like this acronym about autism. They're always, always unique. They're totally interesting. And they're sometimes mysterious. It is important to realize that children and young people with autism experience the world differently from us. They have a learning difference. They're not stupid. They're not lazy. They just learn differently. So some of the strengths of those with autism are this. They focus on detail. That's amazing. They can concentrate very deeply. You have a lot of people with autism who have got powerful brains. They can remember facts. Their working memory is excellent. They also are very intuitive. They have photographic memory. They're visual learners. Those with autism can sometimes come across to us as very stubborn. And that's not a negative trait. Stubbornness can be good. If somebody persists in doing something until they achieve it, that's a good thing. So those with autism can come across as stubborn, and we shouldn't kind of reprimand them because of that. It's a positive quality if they're doing something that is constructive. So I just want to highlight to you some very unique, very talented individuals with autism that have contributed much to society. I bet you recognize many of them. The extreme left, Albert Einstein, one of the greatest minds that ever lived. He came up with the theory of relativity, E equals mc squared. It's amazing. He's a genius. And then in the middle you have Thomas Edison. Thankfully to him, the inventor of the electric bulb. And then Leonardo da Vinci, a fantastic artist, inventor. Leonardo da Vinci wears many professional hats. He's a sculptor, architect, mathematician, engineer, cartographer, somebody who, makes maps. Amazing. So many strengths in one person with autism. Isaac Newton came up with gravity and the theory of motion. He's a physicist and a mathematician. And of course, not just all those peoples that that we remember and are no more with us. We have Lionel Messi. How many of you are football fans, yeah? We have a few here. Messi is somebody with autism. He is the captain of the Argentine football, club, and he's one of the world-renowned footballers. So people with autism are gifted, they're talented, they've got so many strengths, and not forgetting those which are musically gifted. We've been hearing about Mozart. What a prodigy. All the classical music, the scripts that he's written. Beethoven, another composer. Bob Dylan, a singer, a songwriter. He's also an author. And then you have, at the bottom, Matt Savage. He's a jazz prodigy. He was diagnosed with autism when he was 3 years old. And by the time he was 14 years old, he became an accomplished musician and pianist. Isn't that wow? It's great. People with autism have fantastic talent. And if you remember, there's a little lady at the bottom there, Susan Boyle. How many of you remember Susan Boyle or watched her on X Factor? She stunned Simon Cowell with her rendition of I Dreamed a Dream. Amazing. Now these people were given platforms to showcase their talents, and then people saw their strengths. But generally, those with autism sometimes get sidetracked or put to the side or ignored or deemed, that they are difficult, they're very challenging, they can't learn. So, I just want to show you a little clip about a young teenager, 15-year-old, I say little because when I deal with young people, my remit of work as an educational psychologist is from 0 to 25. So this young man, Shane McCullough, is super amazing. And this little clip that you're going to watch, you can observe his quirkiness, his odd kind of behavior, but through it all, his musical talent will shine through. That's not good, is it? He's actually going to be, can we play it again? He's super talented. but you can see at the very beginning that he's getting anxious. So people with autism, when they get anxious, they make funny noises. They can go do 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 or whatever it is. Yeah. So he's making a certain sound, and it's not because he's trying to be rude or anything like that.
Nathan Buska is a special needs child with autism that attends the Brenham State Supported Living Center. He's been at the center since February, and upon his arrival, Arthur Curry, the school's music teacher, heard about Nathan's musical ability. He wasn't ready for what happened next. Nathan is gifted, to say the least, in his music ability. All he has to do is simply hear a song. Wait. Nathan's ability was so amazing that Curry went to Brenham High's music teacher, Julia Hanson, to nurture his talent.
He came in, he saw the grand piano, he sat down, he started playing for us, and so everything changed from that moment on.
He doesn't know how to read music, but his ability to break down songs and put them back together is what has amazed his teachers.
I've been a piano teacher for about 15 years, and I've had students that play by ear, but I've never seen anybody like Nathan.
I have never come across anyone.
Nathan is off the charts.
He is a very special child.
So Nathan plays on. That's good news for anyone who gets the privilege to hear it.
I can listen to him over and over. All day the same song.
The fascinating thing about Nathan is we really don't know what the limit is. It's just a matter of sitting down with him and just exploring what he can do.
In Brenham, Shane McAuliffe, News 3.
Right, that was Nathan. He was amazing, wasn't he? He's really got that talent. Where do I go next? Right, on one hand, we see those with autism, they have a lot of talent, as you just observed, Nathan, and then they also have this triad of impairment: social communication issues, social interaction issues, social imagination issues. And all of this gives rise to anxiety. Yeah, they're very talented, and then in one part they find they've got communication deficits, and this causes them to be on edge. They get frustrated, and a lot of people say, oh, they're very moody. It's like a dark cloud over their head. I'll show you this clip. I know you can't read all from the back, but what I want to sort of portray is this. There's this guy in red pants named him Tom. Tom is just saying hi to someone else, to Alan. Alan is a child with autism. So Tom is just saying a greeting, hello. And all the white speech bubbles, there are 22. The one with autism is going through all of his mind, Alan's mind, is going through all these thoughts. And some of the thoughts is, what is he saying? I don't understand what he's saying. I don't know what to say. I need more time to process what he's saying. His voice is so loud, it is hurting my ears. Is he going to touch me? I don't like being touched. There's a freckle on his nose, and it looks like a train. I like talking about trains. And then Alan replies in response to a greeting hi. The maglev train in Shanghai is the fastest train in the world. And the other person, Tom, is like, what's he saying? It's totally irrelevant. This little slide shows you those with autism are processing a lot. And because they don't know what to focus on, they don't know what the other person expects, they don't have the language, the script, they get anxious. And that anxiety will translate to stomach or abdominal issues that result in, toileting problems, and then they will have ulcers, or they'll be sensitive to different types of food, allergies. But the good news is, music breaks the chains of anxiety, breaks the chains of fear, breaks the chains of boredom. And so now I want to go about talking to you how music facilitates or supports those with autism. It has a great impact. The dance between music and autism. Music, as we all heard throughout this whole morning, is a universal language. It exercises both sides of the brain. Those with autism have a great need for structure, for predictability, for routines, and music offers them that safety, gives them that predictability, that structure, makes them feel less anxious. So the practice of music and dance, in its core, it is highly structured, very ritualized, and the good thing about music, it unlocks the imagination of concrete thinkers. Those with autism, they think black and white thinking. It's hard for them to imagine. They've got issues with social imagination. So music gives them an inroad to express their inner self. And that's a massive thing. Music also helps children with autism to make connections with others. Social interaction, as you just saw the other clip, it demands for two people that are interacting to be on the same page. Both need to know what the other is saying or make assumptions. By encouraging our children to dance to music, to sing, they mirror other people's experiences. And that way, they feel connected, they feel belong to the group. So the combination of music and dance helps the brain reorganize itself. Children with autism have multiple types of stimulation in order to process information. They need a lot of stimulation in order to get the information. So when we're doing dancing, when we encourage them to dance to music, what children do is they hear the singing, the music, they process it, they do the movements. And the thing about music, if you know choral music or whatever, there are lots of choruses, there's lots of repetition, and they get to repeat it over and over again. And when they do this, when they're listening, when they are processing the music, when they're doing those actions, and when they're doing it over and over again, repetition, this causes the brain to form new neural pathways. It engages both sides of the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. So a lot is going on in the brain, there's a lot of activity, and that's so positive. So music and dance are wonderful ways for children with autism to engage themselves and with the world. Music offers them predictability, structure, and this calms them. And then they feel relaxed, and they can learn better. The clip, drum roll. Oops. The clip which I want to play. This is a little clip on a drum roll. You can observe how the music teacher is using this activity to engage people with autism or children with autism. Sorry about that.
Once a month, the sounds of drum beats fill the rooms in Allen School. Instructor John Scalisi brings his collection of African drums in hopes of reaching these students who have a hard time communicating.
I like to see the connection that can be made between, the connection that rhythm can make with people. People who speak, people who don't speak, blind, deaf. Rhythm is a universal language.
Okay, my turn. My turn. John's turn.
John began teaching the class at Allen 6 years ago. It started out as just a way to have fun, but teachers and therapists noticed the students started improving their language skills.
Say drum? Yeah. When we use an instrument, we always try to prompt language. So that we try to get the kids to request bell, shaker, frog, drum.
It's very reinforcing, so it provides an opportunity for us to teach different language skills and things that may be more difficult for a child, but with reinforcers and things that are fun, it makes it more fun and they're more likely to learn.
Staff members have also noticed the students' social skills improving. For example, while they're hearing the sounds of the ocean in what's called an ocean drum, they're learning to weight their...
There's a lot of research. I think about time, so I can't let you hear the whole thing. But lots of research that supports autism, music and autism, this link. Yeah, I want to draw your attention to the last one, where emotion is tapped upon. The last research, it was a research done in the frontiers of neuroscience. What happened was these researchers used fMRI scans and they looked at the brains of those with autism and those that are neurotypical. And what they found out when they were introducing different types of emotional music to them, those with autism, the part of that brain, you know, that part of the brain lit up where it was music. It's same with those with who are neurotypical. And that shows that to the researchers that they can engage with music. It is so critical. They can engage with music. Usually those with autism have difficulty with empathizing with people. They have difficulty relating to emotion. And you must see this clip. I need to play this. This is a little boy. This recently happened. This little boy is engaging with music in a Coldplay concert. Time doesn't permit me to do that, but the ways forward, you can see what the benefit of music is to those with autism, to those that are vulnerable. It's such a tool, it has such great impact. And I feel, knowing all that research, what matters is we do something about it. Yeah? I've been working in the UK for the past 18 years, the area of educational psychology, living and working there. And I've just recently, the last 2 years, I've returned. And I've been going into schools. I'm involved in different projects to impact what's happening in the country. We want systemic change to happen. We want people to understand what the difficulties are. We want our whole society to be more inclusive. So some of I'm not going to go through the whole lot. I'm involved with this Pinter project. So we're going to be training teachers to identify those with autism, to look at interventions, how they can bring music into the classroom. We're going to be raising awareness. We're already doing it with NGOs like the Rotary Club, and we're partnering with different organizations like Oasis Place and others to support autism training for trainers. And also there's more research. There's such a high need for research to link autism, music, and the benefits. We're doing, in help, myself and some of the other lecturers are involved in finding the viewpoints of teachers all over the country about what they think about inclusion, what they think about SEN. So the main thing I want to leave with you today is, in Malaysia, I noticed, having lived abroad for a long time and come back, I feel the gap that we have is this not joint working, yeah? There are pockets of good work happening all around, dotted around the country. That's fantastic, but we need to collaborate. We need to work together. And this is the start. This conference has linked me in with different people, and I think if we work together, we can bring about change. And then it'll cause people to identify those with autism much earlier, afford them all the interventions that they need. So I end with this. I believe very strongly that music is the food for autism. I encourage all of us to play our part, do our bit in supporting that, and I endorse that because I've seen children with autism light up when music is introduced into their lives. Thank you.